Hi there, my name is Kaylee.
My name is Shay.
And we're tackling some big debt.
In the Big Apple.
And today we are going to talk about our financial independence number.
Yep.
And how we got there. And how we calculate it, how we track it, all the things.
Mm-hmm.
Shay is probably going to be working.
Yes.
Just off screen over here. So if you hear a voice come from that direction,
it's me.
Have fun working.
Bye.
So, like I said, we're going to be talking financial independence number. What is financial independence? FIRE, financial independence, retire early. This is where you have enough money in your investment accounts, your retirement accounts, cash on hand, ongoing income to where you do not need to work for money. It sounds nice. Certainly not the life we live right now, but I do dream of it one day. We are working towards it. I think we're making good progress towards it as well overall. So this is a movement. I should have worn my Choose FI t-shirt today. This is a movement that I fell really heavy into in 2020, and it is the driving force behind why we do the things we do in the order that we do them. So right now we're mega focused on paying off my student loans, but after that it's going to be full speed ahead on the financial independence journey. So in order to calculate your financial independence number, you need your annual expenses. You multiply it by 25. And what that does is gets you to a point where, this is based on something called the Trinity study. I don't know if you knew this. Where you could withdraw 4% of your investment portfolio in perpetuity, forever and ever, and it would continue to grow, or at least the main bulk, the principal amount would stay the same, because on average, the stock market grows 7% plus every year. On average. It does not grow 7% every specific year, but some years it's 12, some years it's 4, like it's 7% generally. So if you take out 4, it's still got that 3% to offset inflation, and that they call it on the Choose FI podcast, the perpetual money-making machine. So to start, you need to know what your annual expenses are. So if you've seen any of our videos before, you know that we use the budgeting program YNAB, or You Need a Budget. So we are very dialed into our expenses. We know what our expenses are, but I can show you how we track them in many different ways. So first and foremost, YNAB, we track all of our expenses through this program, and this really helped us dial in. If you're somebody who doesn't, get joy or benefit out of very specific category budgeting, you don't have to do this. You just need to know how much you spend every month. For us, this is how we do it, but it doesn't need to be that. I also have this little sheet here where I've just kind of written out what our expenses are. Here's the things that are ongoing recurring expenses. For things like this is our power and gas bill, and it kind of fluctuates. It's an average of the last 12 months of spending, and things like that. And I've also got this, the little highlights are, there are things that we would pay for that we consider needs, and then the things that are not highlighted are things that are like extras, just extras that are nice to have. But all of this adds up to our monthly expenses, which on this is just $4,800-ish. There's many other things that we pay for out of our regular budget. Technically, just under $5,000 is how much our life currently costs. But what I wrote down on here is $6,500, because that's what our life will cost, I think, in the future. So I'm rounding up to make sure that there's buffer built into that, right? Making sure that even as our lifestyle increases little by little, as debt payoff happens, I don't have to completely rework our entire financial independence number, right? So $6,500 times 12, let me just do that right here, times 12 equals $78,000 a year. But what I've actually got here is $97,500, because what I've done is added a 25% buffer. So I've already rounded this up. I round this up as well. I want to be so careful and sure. This is me being very, very risk averse.
Very Kaylee.
I want to make sure that there's no way that if we hit this number, we won't be totally fine. And also, over the next few years, our goal is to spend more money. Our goal is to continue spending on, we want to buy a house, we want to travel more, we want to live a little bit more lavishly after the student loans are paid off. And I know that that's going to enter our lives, and I know that that's coming. So I've added a 25% buffer here. So as you can see, let's do this. So we say our monthly expenses, I rounded up to 6,500. So 6,500 times 12, which is annually, that's a month. And then as a buffer, we add that 25%, and then we multiply that 25%. That's $97,500 a year in the most non-specific, dialed up way that I can imagine that our spending would be in a year. That would be the financial independence number. So then all we have to do, FI number, so multiply by 25. And this is just an inverse of that 4% rule that I talked about. So we want to take this and multiply it by 25. And you can see that is, let's format this in a way that makes it actually easy to see because this looks crazy. $2.437 million. And then if you do it backwards, you do the math backwards, times 4% is that 97,500. So you can see how we got there, right? So 4% of this, and then this grows by 3% to offset inflation, and it just continues. So if we get just under $2.5 million, in theory, we then have this amount to spend every year for the rest of our lives without having to work for dollars or anything like that. So that is our current financial independence number. Now, what some people have seen in our monthly check-ins, our financial independence check-ins on this channel, is that we actually report on this as a monthly amount. So FIRE here is listed as $224.15 a month. And because what that is if I take this number, right? So this is our current savings. I have in my 401k just over $65,000, got just under $1,000 in my Roth IRA. This is Shay's Roth IRA as of last month. I update these numbers once a month. I don't update them a ton. But what that shows us is with a 4% withdrawal rate, what could I pull out right now? 4% of 69,000 is 2,760. And then if I take that and divide it by 12, which means this is how much I would get every single month, is this $230.06, which means that if we decided we've done enough, we're going to be financially independent, we would have to live off of $230. I don't think we could do that.
No.
So our current trajectory, where's my spreadsheet? So also this little spreadsheet thing, I didn't make this. This is from, and I put this here so you guys can see, budgetsaresexy.com. And this is just a free downloadable thing that I did, or that you put in your email and then they send it to you, and it's very chill vibes. So the way that we track our ongoing trajectory is, so I added this myself I added this part to the spreadsheet. So every week I put 5% of my income into my 401k, which is $103. My company matches up to 5%, which is another $103. Shay's Roth IRA, we have about $100 going into. This actually I just changed. So both of our Roth IRAs, we have $100 a month going into minimum. It usually ends up being a little bit more, but that's what the minimum standard. So that's $13,112 a year that we're planning on going into retirement consistently with an 8% return in the market and putting this much in every year, which is what we're doing right now. And it does all the math and things to say, okay, this is how much it will be and grow over time with this return and your additional investment. And they know that we're looking for this number right here in order to hit financial independence. So I will hit that number when I am 63 years old. And Shay, and I added this little one here to know that Shay will be 58. So my age when I hit FI will be 63, and Shay will be 58 because she's 5 years younger than me. And then I just make little updates to this as our accounts grow, as our investment amount every month is able to grow. If there are any changes to our expenses, I change that. I don't change this very often, but I keep it as updated as possible. And so that's how we know that right now we are on track to be financially independent before regular retirement age, which is 65 in the United States. Not very much before, but before. So I'll take that. I would like it to be earlier than that, but it's nice to know that at some point we will have a retirement where we can afford to live and we don't have to eat dog food. So Dave Ramsey always says that people are eating dog food in retirement because they don't save enough. I also track, just for fun, where we are at on the journey to each level of FI, which there are many. So Coast FI is when you have enough money in your accounts that you don't need to add any more money, but you'll hit your numbers by regular retirement age without contributing anymore, which for us right now would be about $620,000. I update that one like once a year or so, but that's where we are right now. Barista FI is where you have enough money to pay your expenses, but you need to keep working for health insurance, which, you know. Lean FI is where you could, in theory, live off that money, but it's probably a little tighter on the belt. Regular FI, that's our number. Chubby FI is where you living kind of large, feel a little comfortable. And then Fat FI is where you are spending. Baby, you're living a rich life. And it's funny because, like, for us, these numbers are like $5 million is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, that's crazy. But there are some people out in the world who are like, am I FI yet? And they have like $8 million. And you're like,
Yes.
Yeah, for me, that's outrageous. That's more money than I've spent my entire life. So, you know, for us, this would be like $200,000 a year would be extremely, and that's just spending. So that'd be very comfortable. Now, we may adjust these larger numbers as we get closer and we're like, you know, in a pipe dream, maybe we want to have an extra couple milli, but we've got like 70 grand right now. So I think we're a little ways off.
An extra couple million.
You know, one day that could be us. It's not us today. But yeah, we are currently on track. Where are we? We are currently on track to hit financial independence right around regular retirement age for me. So the goal is to move this up by 15 years minimum. But like I said, we are focused heavily on, as you can see, these deposit amounts are not ginormous. They're not gargantuan. It's not throwing every penny we have at this because we're working on paying down those student loans, because what that will do is reduce our current expenses and our ongoing expenses. Because if you think about it, there, in theory, is a world in which we could hit financial independence before I hit the end of the student loan payoff period. And for me, that's just, I don't like it. Because then that's just, like, I could just also reduce our expenses and not have to worry about them ever again, which sounds nice. So this is where we are at right now. As the student loans get paid down, then we can move towards throwing more money at this. Purchasing a home and reducing our long-term housing expenses is also in the cards for us. But that's where we are at right now. And I'm feeling pretty jazzed about it. So for some resources, I really recommend the Choose FI podcast. They have been extremely helpful. They also have a book. There's also a YNAB book. But that, you know, YNAB in the base level of budgeting, that's like step 0 in the financial independence journey. I think knowing where you're at with your finances and everything is really just something that most everyone should have an idea of what their monthly spend is and make sure you're in line. You don't necessarily need to budget at the level that we budget, which is a little intense, but having a handle on your finances and knowing how much your life costs means that you can get started on this journey in a major way. So that's how we factor this number all together. That's how we get this monthly number that we talk about at the end of every month when we're doing our wrap up. And that's where we're at right now. So I hope if you haven't subscribed, you subscribe and join us on this journey of debt payoff and financial independence. And we will see you on Friday for our budget video.
See you on Friday.